I'll mute first.
Okay.
Assalamualaikum. I think everyone's muted. We're live, alhamdulillah.
Hi everyone. Assalamualaikum. My name is Nizam Adli. Welcome to our how to say, it's not a monthly, hopefully it's a monthly live show, Cakap Adik Beradik. Purpose of this live show is basically we are bringing our siblings conversation onto a live platform. We have not seen each other for more than 3 months. I've seen Amalina, but I've not seen the rest of my siblings for more than 3 months. So this is one platform where we share when we do meet at our parents' place, we share about things, about our work, about our journeys, about our challenges and all that. So, but today, more importantly, I think most of the time our conversation will revolve around real estate. I don't know why maybe I talk a lot, but anyway, these are things that we like to share, and we as siblings, we believe that is our way to pay it forward, so that our sharing can benefit people, because we are from diverse background. Inshallah, we can share a lot of things today. But in fact, today I'm very excited because we have a special guest. None other than I must brand him as wait, let me change this sticker. Brand him as the star asatiza of Singapore. Oh, okay. Angkat sikit. Okay. Okay. Without further ado, you guys can unmute yourself. Let me just bring you guys up, everybody. Alhamdulillah. Apa khabar Ustaz? How are you?
Waalaikumsalam. I'm not a star asatiza, okay? I'm just a normal.
Thank you so much for being on our show. These are my sisters. My younger sister is Amalina. She's a lawyer. My second sister is Hilia. She's a social worker. You know my brother. I think with election he's busy, so maybe from those watching election, hopefully still some limelight. Okay.
I would actually think that he's not around because I'm a Liverpool fan and I just won the league, and he's a Man U fan, so maybe that's why he's not around.
Oh, I think thank you, Ustaz. I will just exit you on there. Okay. Oh yeah.
Our whole family is Man United fans.
Well, I'm sorry, condolences to you this season.
Condolences. That's mean. Anyway, okay. Anyway, congratulations. After 30 long years, hopefully you don't have to wait another 30 years to win the next one. Okay, we are there to always fight, but competitively, healthy competition is very important, correct? In today's, in life especially. Right. So, start. I believe the topic a bit berat. I don't know whether it's berat or not. I don't know. But I think it's something very important, especially with our younger generation who has a lot of aspiration. Like my sister Amalina, all that, a lot of aspiration. I never imagined she become a lawyer. So, she's still my baby sister. So, in a way, it's really, that's why I love this platform, because it's allowed us to like I say, pay it forward, give our perspective. And with you coming on board, I think allow us to share a wider perspective, especially because I'm in real estate, so I do get a lot of questions. Sometimes from agents themselves who are a bit not sure about whether they are doing the right thing. Okay, right. So now I think the topic is property ownership and investment from the Islamic perspective lah. So a bit broad, but maybe I want to start. I will anchor this lah. I just want to start. Aspiration of a young Malay Muslim couple. I believe you are also still very young. So in terms of what are your aspiration in terms of property ownership or property investment for that matter? Now currently I believe you are staying in a BTO, right? HDB, right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. So what made you start the journey? Property ownership.
I think we got some really good advice in the beginning. I think we only purchased the house, as in applied for the house after we got married, I think. So we had to wait for quite a while.
Okay.
But it was a decision that we made knowing that it was going to be something that we can benefit from in the short term, as soon as 5 years from now. And that's how we are where we are right now. This house went 5 years, so we're about to make some decisions soon. But what I would like to say is that generally I can speak on behalf of many young people about to get married. Most of them are pretty unaware about what their options are and what's probably the best option for them. Of course, everyone is in a different state, financial situation, family situation. Some of them, they have to take care of their parents living with them, they're living with parents now, they don't have a house to stay, different scenarios. And I think, I wish that many young couples, especially just before getting married, they would be given relevant advice, good advice that will benefit them and their family in the future. Right now, one of my roles is to be a Naib Qadi. I solemnize couples. And since exactly 1 year ago, 1st July 2019, there was a new program launched by ROMM called Bersamamu. So Bersamamu requires that the Naib Qadi interview the couples before they get married. Before this, there was no such thing. And in this session, the questions that I normally ask them is, so lepas kahwin nanti tinggal mana? And then they give me all types of different answers. Okay, some of them will say, "Oh, sir, our BTO book already is going to be ready in 2 years' time, 2.5 years, 3 years, whatever." So meanwhile, tinggal mana? Or tinggal parents first, in-laws first, and so on and so forth. Just now at 6 o'clock, I had a couple that I called as well for this interview. Now tengah COVID, so kita tak meet face to face, we do virtually. And when I asked them, so what's the plan? They're very young. The guy is 24, the girl is 22. Currently, only the guy is working, the girl is still studying. I asked them, so what's the plan? They cakap, we want to buy resale. And so I was wondering, so you're not even going to consider BTO? They cakap, no lah Ustaz. Their reasons are, dengar-dengar BTO kecil rumah dia. And then, I'm like, but you're still young. How many kids do you plan to have in the next 5 years? Right? And then they were like, because they don't know, or maybe it's just based on hearsay, or it's based on family advice, which may or may not be accurate for them. So I just hope and wish that somewhere along the lines in the future that we can have more conversations about property, because when we get couples to sign up for marriage preparation courses, khusus rumah tangga, what I noticed is that there is talk on basic financial management. It's like your savings, your budgeting, your basic expenses. When you have a child, it changes the dynamics of everything, your finances especially. But it almost does not touch, as far as I can remember, about purchasing a house, which is probably your biggest purchase in your whole life. And your biggest investment in life is a property. But they almost have no advice. Yeah,
I share the same sentiment because for longest time I also tried to for lack of a better, penetrate into this kursus rumah tangga thingy, because I believe, I always say that maybe give me a half an hour, because agents sometimes we have our stigma different, but your stereotype. But to me, I think that's why one of the things to quash stereotyping for agents like me is, I think, this platform But because end of the day, you're right, because when the first property or the first house you buy is very important. It determines the cycle.
Yeah.
See, if you buy the wrong property, for example, you cannot retract. You cannot actually, unless you have the resources, to be honest. But if you make the wrong step in terms of the first property, it's very difficult to recover, my opinion. Because for me, I've learned to put emotions aside when it comes to buying property or advising couples or whoever for that matter in terms of buying property. From the emotional standpoint, I put aside, because it has to be a logical standpoint. Like you say, rumah kecil lah Ustaz, BTO, but end of the day, you're right. So what is your, I always tell them, you buy a BTO or resale for that matter, it's a 5-year plan, because you have to stay 5 years. So you really, that 5 years, if you make the wrong decision or it's something that you have to live with for 5 years, maybe not a long time, but most of them also never plan to recover in terms of maybe if they purchase the wrong type of property lah. That's how I feel, And affordability, Ustaz. Okay. Affordability, when it comes to perspective of Islam, affordability in terms of buying a property, what's maybe can you give us a sense? What kind of, how do I put it? Maybe you can relate your own journey. I don't know. Maybe later I will ask my sisters, relate your own journey. When it comes to your buying your first property, besides the location, besides the convenience or whatever it is, or the weight, because BTO have to wait. In terms of affordability, what should a young couple look at from a standpoint?
Yeah. I think the basic one should definitely be financial affordability. I think that's probably one of the first ones. Looking at your salary at the time of purchase is very important, because anything beyond that is just your speculation. You speculate that your salary is going to go up, you're going to get a raise, you're going to get a promotion, there's going to be increments, but it may or may not happen. And it's risky if, it's going to squeeze you financially. Sometimes when you can barely breathe, there's barely any breathing space, you have to top up cash, whatever. So I think my advice, based on, you have to assess that first. And then after that, do I buy a 5-room or 4-room? Let's say you can afford up to a 5-room. Do I buy a 5-room or 4-room or 3-room? I guess some aspects of that has got to do with your family planning as well. One of the questions I normally ask these couples when I interview them is, so have you discussed about having children yet? And then they say, malu-malu, adalah Ustaz, macam. And then I ask them a very straightforward question: how many kids do you wish to have, or what is a number that's ideal for you? And some of them would say 2. 2 is just enough, just nice. That banyak sangat pun pening, finances, blah blah. And so from there, you get an indication that, okay, you're not intending to have a big family. They have many siblings. They're not anytime soon potentially having to take care of their parents, or house their parents, and anything like that. And so decisions can be made like that. When you know what you want for the future, for your future, when you visualize the future and you see that, we're going to have a big family, so we need many rooms. And then you purchase, for example, a 5-room. So, for example, my wife and I, we decided on a 5-room because, we had certain plans. So you need to think, what is your vision? What is your plan? What is your financial affordability? And other arrangements as well.
Maybe I want to ask my sister Amalina, because she just got married last year.
Congrats.
And she was disappointed that you couldn't be the Qadi because of your star status. So a bit difficult. Maybe Amalina,
don't think she tried to.
Maybe Amalia, you want to share what made you, make that decision with your husband, that kind of thing? Just to give a perspective from a very young couple or buying for the first time.
Okay, so me and my husband applied for BTO in 2017. And we applied for a 3-room flat. back in 2017, my husband was already working for about close to 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
But I was still, I just graduated, in 2017. So at that point in time, they assessed my income to be zero because I was doing after graduating, I was doing the bar exam. So I was still not working yet. Yeah. So he was the only income earner lah at that point in time. And we wanted to make use of that age gap between us to make the move to apply for a BTO because we wanted to capitalize on the available grants which are given based on the couple's income at the point of application. Correct, Abang?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, so if I could categorize at that point in time, the group of friends that we had that were going to settle down, that were looking into purchasing their first properties, I could generally classify them into the BTO group and the resale group. So the BTO group is like they've planned ahead and they know they have, because BTO you have to wait, right? So they've planned ahead and they've done the calculation bila nak kahwin, when will the house be ready, etc., etc. And then there's the group that nak beli resale terus sebab tak nak tunggu. Things like that lah. So for us, we chose the BTO route because we could wait. We had time to wait, and also we wanted to capitalize on the available grants lah. And a lot of people ask why we chose a 3-room flat. It's because it's as my husband would say, cheap, good. Especially after you deduct the grants.
Yeah, true.
Because the point is to be loan free as soon as possible. Yeah. And because 3-room flat, there's the income ceiling.
Very sophisticated,
Yeah,
but
so
it's very
you're
sophisticated.
qualified lah.
Yeah. I think it's true. I think I agree. Yeah. I also gave her my perspective because I think it will relate to my next question lah. But before that, maybe my sister Hilya also has upgraded lah from a HDB to a private property. If I can share, I think what maybe you and your husband Hilya, what is the motivation for you to move from a HDB to a private property?
I guess fundamentally it's also to invest, a form of investment lah, to see. We have stayed in our first flat for I think close to 15 years. So and then although it was not that, we moved about 3 years ago in 2017, but it was not meant to be then. According to my plans, it was not supposed to be in 2017 yet, but I guess Allah has better plans for us. So yeah, so we ended up upgrading lah. So it was it was more of course with the advice of my dearest brother, right? So that's why we upgraded, and it's more of really just to it's more of a long-term investment that we are looking at lah. My boys in their teens, the hope and dream is when they are all grown up and move away, we can just downgrade and just go back to being a pengantin baru again, in a smaller, more affordable flat.
The great thing about having a brother like Nizam who's in property is that you can always seek his expert advice, and it doesn't go well, you can always just blame him, correct?
That's very reassuring. Thank you. But coming to the next point, okay, Ustaz, you see, Hilya upgraded. Okay. In view of, to me, I think 2-3 years ago we had this seminar together, right? I remember at Tampines Hub. We're talking about menjana kekayaan melalui pelaburan hartanah or generating wealth through property investment. Now, in Singapore's context, property investment comes with leveraging. Am I right? Leveraging on the bank loans or HDB loan for that matter. So from the perspective of Islam, especially in Singapore's context, because generating wealth is something that I think lack of a better understanding for me is permissible in Islam. Am I right? Yeah, it's something that you are allowed or basically encouraged. But now we are leveraging on loans and all that. How do we as Muslims in Singapore take advantage or lack of an instrument in Singapore where it's Sharia compliant? So how do you see in your own perspective taking loan to leverage, upgrade in view of making money? Put it very simply. Yeah. What would be your perspective?
That's actually a tough question, to be honest,
Yeah.
because the one of the key principles in Islamic finance is to avoid riba, interest.
Correct. Yep.
And of course, there are scholarly views and fatwas that have given the permissibility for couples to purchase a house, a property, out of necessity and taking a loan, whether it is HDB loan or bank loan, whatever. But that first house is considered out of necessity because you need a house to live in Singapore, and therefore, that's the option that they have. But I guess the question is, can you repeat that process again? When you already have one property, for example, like can you purchase another one and then take another loan just to purchase with the intention of investment? So I think let me start off like this. If the intention is to grow your wealth, first of all, I think we need to study investments as a whole. Okay? Study what are all the different types of investments that are available for you to choose from, that you understand, that are free from any questionable elements in them, and then assess accordingly. Are there investments that perhaps do not require you to take a loan in order for you to get started? Number one. But for example, let's say investing in the stock market, for example.
Yeah.
But then you have to counter another kind of assessment, which is more stable, which type of investments fluctuate less, for example, which is less volatile, which ones have a higher risk and which ones have a lower one. And you have to really assess all of this properly, study it properly, do your due diligence, get someone to guide you, read a lot, for you to make a very informed decision. Now, if you, after doing all of that, you realize that going into property is still the best option, and also because perhaps you are living in a time when the prices of property are down, okay? And if you don't invest now, you're going to miss out. Now, the question is, can you take a loan because of this? And I think I remembered in that seminar that you mentioned about 2 years ago, one of the responses I gave was that, if there is a potential for them to gain something out of it, and if they don't invest, they might lose out. And the losing out is not just for them individually, but also from the perspective of the entire society, right? Like the community loses out in the long run. If you down 10 years later, when the market was down and nobody bought because of these restrictions, or they hesitated because of those things, then they would lose out. And how valuable property is in Singapore. The difference between the person who has one and who doesn't have one is huge. It's quite significant.
Does tangibility of the asset plays a part?
Kind of. I mean, in our religion, when you die, you pass on your wealth, to those who are supposed to inherit, your beneficiaries, and you want to leave them with something valuable, perhaps something that they can continue on. Even if they cash out on it, they can perhaps use it to invest on more properties, perhaps in the future, for their own children and so on, their offsprings. So that's one other perspective. Okay. Another one is this. I managed to ask a friend of mine earlier today, and I asked him about this. I asked, is there any Sharia compliant loans in Singapore to purchase property? And he said there isn't. For individuals, he said there isn't. But if you use an entity like a business, a company, you can. And I was told that it was CIMB and Maybank, I think. I'm not trying to promote any banks here, but I think these two banks, they have the Sharia compliant loans to purchase property for entities. And so then, you know, you are now looking at an option. That's a plausible option. And that is, could you set up a separate entity if, let's say, this is an investment that you want to do with your wife or with your siblings, macam ni adik-beradik ni semua ni, 4 orang ni, without Hadi. You pull together, set up a company, and then purchase an entity, and then leverage on a Sharia compliant loan. I think that is actually a valid option, right? So now you are investing, and your mind is at peace because you know you're not, you know, doing something that is questionable in that sense. And yeah. And of course, one other thing I would just say to add on to that is, there are people who are just buying one property and then they rent out a room when they can, and 2 rooms. That's still decent income if you think about it.
True. But I think what you just mentioned was not all of us can do it lah. I mean, if I can just summarize what you just said. So it's about opportunity. There's opportunity that and of course you, if I may add, you must have the affordability. You cannot be just because you really think this is a good opportunity, you go and scrape whatever, anywhere, whatever, and then dump your money. I think that is not being prudent also lah. I think without talking about Islamic perspective, it is also something that we also don't advocate, because it's really putting yourself in the chopping in the line on the chopping line, I must say, because if there's a movement in the property price and all that, you are screwed lah. You know, get what I mean? Yeah. So then okay, then I believe it's also the niyat, right, Ustaz?
Yeah.
The niyat is very important. I think, of course, if let's say, for example, you invest in a property with the niyat that, you know, it's you want to generate wealth for the betterment of your family, so that our family can be more. Because to me, I see it from a life cycle perspective. Because if this is just my opinion, if we are able to provide our children with something that is how do I put it? Something that is better than normal. For example, you know, a conducive environment for them to grow, for them to play, study, and whatever, and they become a better person in society and more affluent in that. So not so much about harta, but more affluent in terms of their thinking, in terms of their pergaulan and all that. I believe it bodes well for the community. Don't you think so?
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
Very true.
Okay, now we come to be on the technical part lah. Maybe Hilya and Amalia can also share if they want to. The use of CPF, because CPF has this accrued interest component, you know, which is also, you know, I don't know whether lack of a better understanding from the Islamic perspective lah, because you buy a BTO or resale flat, you use CPF, which is has a component of accrued interest. So how does it, you know, relate to because that's the Singapore very unique, because we have this instrument CPF that allows us to utilize it to buy property, to buy our flats, but there's also component of interest. So my perspective is there's double interest, loan interest and CPF interest. So it really, you know, a lot of people, actually, even some property agents tell me, Nizam, I cannot sell people property that must take loan. I said, then why you become a property agent in the first place? You know, it doesn't make sense, because I don't feel right. I only buy property for people that they can either fully pay or use CPF. But I say CPF also got component of interest. So how do we, you know, how do we mitigate, or how do we ensure that, you know, especially those really very, very particular about these things, you know, what would your views be?
You mean what, for the agent situation or what? The agent yang
come from yeah, correct. And CPF interest, What, how do we,
But
you
that's,
know?
that's something that's something that's almost unavoidable.
Exactly. So that, yeah.
I think what 90% of people, or even more than that, would definitely have to use it, right? CPF.
Yeah, correct.
Not all. Yeah.
Yeah. I think end of the day, it's also leveraging. Am I right?
Yep.
So leveraging that we can buy our first home and all that.
But the interesting thing is that most people are not aware of this CPF accrued interest. You know, when
yes, I know.
When people only hear about it when they're about to sell their house, then they, huh? You mean what?
Yes. Yeah. Some people will tell me, "Hey, Nizam, I bought my flat 200,000. Now I'm selling at 350. I should make 150,000." I say, yeah, by simple calculation, yes, there's accrued interest, there's bank interest, whatever, there's HDB interest. So you really need to take into consideration. Since you mentioned that, right? Okay. For example, we leverage on loan, we leverage on CPF. Then when we want to sell our property, we make a loss. How does it, how does it correlate with all these things? Because we're supposed to leverage to make to so-called make money so that we can have a better family. But when you buy a wrong property and you leverage on CPF, you leverage on HDB loan, but end of the day when you sell your flat, it's negative sale. You heard of negative sale, right? Yeah. So it really, I don't know how to say this, but it really like, double whammy kind of thing,
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I don't know. There's no. I don't think there's an Islamic perspective on that, but rather more of a financial perspective. Probably some poor decisions made in the past, bad timing, maybe. Yeah.
I think I know from my experience, a lot of our community, especially, I may get some backlash from this lah, but I think too emotional when it comes to housing. We are house proud, am I right? We are house proud, but end of the day, the pride is overwhelmed the logical thinking. That's how I see. Because okay, Ustaz, I pose you a question, Ustaz. If every month you can pay your mortgage using CPF without topping up cash, will you be more comfortable?
It sounds like a good idea lah, because you don't have to top up anything.
Yeah, true. But a lot of people, because you see, what I'm trying to advocate to a lot of our community is property not so much as an investment per se, but as a savings plan. Why savings plan is because if, for example, you buy the right property, and your CPF is working hard for you because there's potential gain in the future for your property, I think that is something that is worth doing lah. And at the same time, if for example you pay cash to the house, okay, Ustaz, how many children you have? Sorry,
I have 4.
Alhamdulillah, 4. Okay, maybe every weekend do you go McDonald's or not? Or you go higher class one?
Jarang. Not. I mean, the kids like it. Once in a while, we do.
So one time, how much you spend, if I may ask?
Oh, kalau everyone eat something, probably $50 is quite normal, I think.
Yeah. Imagine if, let's say, you go every week every weekend, so it's $200. So what I always tell people or potential clients or buyers or sellers for that matter, if that $200 you put into the house, it pays down the principal. There's no interest. Interest don't have. There's no loan interest. And at the same time, this $200 it becomes a forced savings, because you cannot just go to the walls and take out the money. End of the day, that cash you put into the house, be it how much, becomes two things: mitigate the loss in the future if you buy the wrong property. Secondly, be part of your potential profit. That's how I see it. Yeah, so important.
My agent also advised the same thing. I asked him, so you don't use CPF? He said, no, I put everything cash. And he explained the exact same thing, which like is mind-blowing information. But it's like, I'm already 5 years into the property, the purchase already. It's a bit too late. But
true.
These are examples of good information, good knowledge to have when you're purchasing a property.
True. Because prices of we talk about HDB, prices of HDB is not gonna move. The movement of price of HDB upwards can be said quite remote lah, because of the fact of policies by the government, which is good because it makes them more affordable to the masses. With the grants and all that, probably somebody that can buy 3 room without grant now can buy 4 room if they want to have a bigger family. So it allows, but okay, just to share with everybody out there, grants also, why is it called CPF grant? Because it puts into your CPF first, then they deduct. So anything goes to CPF, what does it attract?
Interest.
Yes. So if you don't be misled by the fact that you get 160,000 grant, very happy. You know, you must really plan it properly because it will attract accrued interest. So you imagine 5 years of accrued interest, how much you will be subjected to lah. If you buy a BTO, too bad. There'll probably some profit. Yeah.
I have a question for you. So,
Sure.
for example, for someone like me, and maybe some other viewers right now, they are about to sell their BTO or going to sell soon. Is it true that if we hold on to this house, this first house longer, the accrued interest will go higher?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course. Because accrued interest is compounding.
So the longer you hold on to it, the more it will
Yeah.
increase.
For example, I think last time in Punggol, right, easily, don't say 10 years, even 5 years ago when I sell flats there, easily a BTO owner can make 150,000, 200,000 easily, to be honest. But now because of policies and all that, and government introduction of BTOs all over the island, they don't care about whether there's demand or not. They just pump the supply. So it mitigates the resale prices in that sense. And if you're from day one, you're using full CPF and all that, you know for a fact that compounding interest of accrued interest will definitely accumulate because the more CPF you use, the more accrued interest you have to put back to CPF lah. So a lot of people don't understand this part. You know, accrued interest can help you and also can kill you lah. I put it very literally, because if, for example, your property appreciates, whatever you use CPF plus accrued interest will go back to your OA, which you can use it for your next property. So there's a gain. But if you buy the wrong property and it's a negative sale means don't talk about profit. You lose your CPF in that sense, the accrued interest, which is actually you are able to utilize it if it's a positive sale for your next property. So it's and to be honest, to start, 3 out of 5 people I talk to is negative sale in Singapore today for resale. So it's really some heart-wrenching, especially those after 55. I recently I did a good friend, but he's already past 60. He said he already fully paid his house for the past 15 years. He bought the house at 350, if I'm not wrong. To break even, right? He was shocked. To break even, he has to sell his flat 650,000. His accrued interest is almost 200,000 over 15 years.
Crazy.
Yeah, crazy. And valuation can only match at 500,000 for his house. So there's 150,000 loss. So you imagine that kind of loss. Yeah, you don't feel it because you don't see the money. But end of the day, it is something that to me, it's making the CPF work harder for you lah, in that sense. Now it's not working hard for you. Literally, every month you work, your CPF come to your OA, it's like literally down the drain. That's how I see it. And there's a lot of our community especially cannot retire because of the fact that our biggest asset, like you say, is our house, is our flat. But if our flat cannot help us in times of need, especially in retirement, I think it's a very bad decision in terms of in terms of property decision. But a lot of people have too much sentiment. Especially some our older folks, right? They are alone, but they stay in a 5-room flat because too much memories, too much sentiments, too much emotion.
They're not willing to downgrade when it's actually a good idea to do so.
Correct, because they fail to see the logical sense, in my opinion, and a lot of them are. I mean, I've seen before. Makcik-pakcik nanti kalau saya downgrade orang cakap apa? There's also another thing. So I think it's really very difficult and they tangguh until the day really cannot. And I also want to urge our dispatch riders, our Grab riders, Grab riders, Grab drivers out there, because I've seen so many cases where they are not able to finance their current home, let alone buy another flat or downgrade for that matter.
Yeah. So
So
first
a
of
lot
all, they don't even have CPF. These individuals, right? The gig economy punya workers, they don't have CPF. And everything they earn is money they pocket directly lah, kan? They keep directly.
Yeah, they can be cash rich, because of the fact that, you know, I've even some dispatch rider tell me, bang, I monthly take home 6,000. Wow. Then where does the money go? Oh, I don't know, you know, because there's no CPF, there's no menabung, because everything is like, you know, liquid to them. So it really, the failure to plan lah. That's what I say. And I think maybe I touched a bit last couple of weeks we touched about perceraian lah. So this is also another thing which causes a lot of stress to a lot of people because of financial lack of financial prudency, lack of financial knowledge, especially comes to the property. And then I think like the time Mariana was sharing, some husband just, you know, because they cannot pay the nafkah, ida, whatever, they forfeit all the CPF that they put in the house, which is also something that is, you know, become a burden to them because they cannot buy anything.
Yeah, I know of some men in that situation.
But yeah, I think we were talking about loss of CPF and all that lah. I think that is to me key in today's property transaction. I've seen a lot of negative sale, and it really is quite scary lah, because especially those retiring or above 55, retirement account not enough, and at the end of the day still have to pay. There's still mortgage to the house, and now property is a bigger spectrum. It's not just about affordability. I think planning is very important. Buying the right property is important. Of cash payment, I always advocate, even to the young ones, say brother, sister, if possible, every month, maybe if you have to pay, see now BTO, right, a 4-room flat, monthly definitely they will have to pay about 1,200, 1,300. That one is standard because CPF not enough, still young, and 1,300 is quite a lot. If they their pay is less than 5,000, their monthly OA cannot accommodate the monthly mortgage, so they have to top up cash. So a lot of them are already doing it, and it becomes a burden lah, you know, that kind of thing. But to me, I tell them very importantly, when you put cash to the house, like I said earlier, it down pay the principal. You know, I made a mistake. Not say a mistake. We were also not informed when we were having HDB sometime back, where, you know, I shortened the tenure from last time HDB loan 30 years now. Start 30 years can take loan. So monthly very comfortable, $300 only. But after 10 years of staying, the loan like doesn't move.
Yeah.
So when we wasn't informed, so we shortened the tenure. So monthly I pay more. But at least I mitigate the loss because of the fact that the 10 years have been shaved off lah. But still, when I sell my HDB, I didn't make any profit, let alone lost CPF lah. So location so important, timing also important, emotion have to put aside when it comes to property lah. A lot of people cannot relate to me because when my wife and I talk, we can be a bit blunt because of the fact that we want the best for them. We don't want to sugarcoat a lot of things because this is a journey. It's not something that, you know, because traditionally our community will want to renovate the house until very, very nice, which nothing wrong, but I think
like the house behind you, your background.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. this is just a virtual background. So this is just a dream. Sometimes we must put our dream behind us. But anyway, moving forward. Okay, Ustaz, I ask you a question. Maybe Hamalina also can answer. Comes about asset planning. Just touch a bit lah, since we have a bit of time. Joint tenancy and tenancy in common, I think has been debated quite a fair bit lah, especially HDB owners, right? But now, for example, I own one private property, sole owner, and my wife own another one. Come from the asset planning perspective, and we have no kids yet. So how would you advise person like me? Now I'm putting myself on the spot lah. Comes to asset planning.
You're asking Amalina, right?
Asking both of you lah. From the Islamic perspective and from the legal perspective. Amalina want to answer first maybe?
I mean, you can look at it as being a smart move also, because most people buy their property together as a couple. But in this case, you own two separate properties. If a couple wants to own two properties, they will be subject to ABSD, additional buyer stamp duty.
Correct.
Which in the example that you raised would not be applicable lah. So there's a lot of money saved actually because you avoid the ABSD. So I guess that's one. But of course, it will take a lot of planning lah from the start, because most people wouldn't have the resources to own a property, let alone a private one alone. So it must have been there must have been some sort of a build up right from the start, to get to that kind of position lah.
Correct. Okay, Ustaz, because this is the term, if you understand what we call
decoupling.
Decoupling. Very good. Decoupling. Don't say decouple. Very not right. Decoupling. Decoupling, right? So basically, from the perspective of Islam, as a husband and wife, I mean, by right, you should own a property together. I mean, this is my conservative view. But when we look at from an investment perspective, from ensuring that the monies we put into the property working hard for us in view of our future return, so that we can have a better retirement, for example, how does that relate to Islamic perspective?
Well, I think we have a fatwa for joint tenancy semua, which of course we know has been revised also recently, which everyone can read. Is public information on the MUI's website. But even when you're not together, I don't think there is a major concern about how the money will be distributed afterwards, how the property will be distributed, because it will be treated as if it is your individual ownership of an asset. And therefore it can easily be distributed to all of your beneficiaries that are supposed to inherit from you according to Faraid law. You want to talk about other financial planning instruments, of course you can always write a wasiat, but you need to consult the experts on this. They are living in a secular country like Singapore. You need to know all the other rules, the civil law and everything, which I think Amalina is more capable of answering and commenting on. But that's where sometimes people think that, okay, I'm just going to leverage on this tool or particular contract, Islamic contract. It may not necessarily stand well on its own. It may be contested easily and things like that. So you need to really read up on all of these things so that you do not make a mistake in that sense. For people who are like Nizam's example, because you put yourself up as an example where you do not have children yet, and the Faraid laws will apply differently to you. So if you pass on, by default your siblings semua dapat sebahagian daripada whatever you leave behind, which I think they don't mind. But also you can also plan it in another way, where you plan, maybe you want to give it to some charitable cause or non-profit organization. This is part of our sedekah jariah that will continue even after we pass on. From Islamic perspective, kita punya pahala berterusan, which is an amazing. Ni kira investment dunia akhirat, you know. So there are many angles and perspectives to look at these options.
Interesting. Yeah. So okay, I think last question with regards to what was that in my mind just now? Suddenly it slipped my mind. Sheesh. Wait, let me recall.
It's okay. Can I ask Kak Hilia something?
Sure. Can.
So you
Please
are
go ahead.
senyap je. Nizam tak tanya soalan, kesian. Tanya pula. So Kak Hilia, you are in the social you're a social worker, is it? Am I right?
Yes.
So do you mainly deal with underprivileged families or a specific group of people? Who do you help normally?
Yeah, I mean, for the past 20 years that I've been in social work, I've mainly worked with vulnerable families lah. Yeah, just that in the last maybe couple of years, I kind of move a little bit to also upstream work, with other families to do more developmental work as well. Yeah.
I see. No, because over the years also, I've done projects to help with zakat recipient families.
Yes, correct.
And I'm just wondering, what is their home ownership situation? Based on my, general assessment, when I just talk to them or giving a talk, I just get them to raise their hands and things like that. Quite a number of them actually live in rented HDB homes lah. They don't even own property. So what are some of the challenges that you see in your line of work when it comes to property ownership? Can you share a bit?
I think a lot of times it's also back to the employment, the job that they hold. A lot of times it's either contract jobs or irregular kind of employment or daily rated. So many of them do not have CPF, savings and all that could help invest in their own property lah, so to speak. So yeah, it's but I have cases where it's younger couples who are in, or staying in rental flats, but they strive to, make sure they get a job with CPF, so that they can also apply for BTO. So ada lah, the younger generation, they have such aspirations as well. Yeah, and yeah, because the government pun, ada banyak, grants and policies that can help them obtain their own property kan. So there are some who are very aspirational and quite motivated lah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Correct.
Just to add, I think recently we just also help a couple from a rental flat to buy a HDB resale. To us, I mean, to be fair to us, I think importantly we look at how motivated are they. To be honest, a lot of them are, bang, I want to buy my first flat, but they are not motivated to go find the right document, to do the right thing, to go to the right places to ensure that things can be done and all that. So the motivation factor is very important. So this guy was really motivated. He's super motivated that we also become super motivated, but one thing we realize, right? Okay, you see, having a lot of kids is very good, but end of the day also, when it comes to applying of HDB loan, it looks at per capita income. Meaning, what I'm trying to say is, you, based on your age and salary and age, you should be getting this amount of loan. But because of the fact that you're a sole breadwinner, you have wife and 4 kids, they take into consideration the expenses of each of the kid, and then end of the day, your loan probably not much. So a lot of them very frustrated because of the fact that, why my loan so low? But because of the fact that yes, family, especially with the parents also stay with them and all that, it becomes a expense to the government, to HDB expense. So they don't want you to. It's also good. On the flip side, it's good because it allows prudency in a way lah. But to me, it also denies them the option of having their own house. Yeah, I mean, this is something that quite delicate. The balance is quite delicate lah, in my opinion. And we did help quite a number of them to move from rental to, because rental is not cheap. Rental is no longer $30-$40. Some of them are paying $200, $300, $400 because of income. So might as well that $300, like I say, because it's cash money, might as well they put the cash to the house. It becomes a forced savings instead of rental, which is expense. You get me? So these are things we need to explain to a lot. I'm looking really to, I'm putting out there openly, Ustaz. I'm looking for a platform to really, like you said, especially the one getting married. Very important. The first step is important. Financial prudence is one thing, but the first step to home ownership is also very important. I think it's not just buy something that's okay lah, paling murah beli, but you dump your CPF, your money's there, end of the day you cannot sell because of the age of the property. It becomes a liability, in my opinion. So it really is a very delicate balance. Okay, I just remember I want to ask you. Okay, we talk about interest, riba, and all that. Just to summarize, so is there a way to cleanse it? You know, some people say, "Oh, don't worry, we can cleanse whatever we have." The riba part or the interest part and all that. What would be the instrument, or what would be, I don't know. I mean, this is just coming from a layman. Just asking because I paid X amount of interest to the property. I just want to cleanse it because I don't want to be in violation of certain Islamic law and all that lah. So what would your suggestion be?
Good question. I think you can belanja Ustaz Mizi pergi Anfield tengok Liverpool ni game.
Hello. Oh, sorry. I didn't hear that. Sorry. Suddenly muted. sorry. Repeat the last one. Yeah.
People often ask this question, popular juga soalannya sebenarnya dari dulu. Even small savings from the bank punya interest pun, people often ask what do we do with it. What I've been taught since young from my teachers is that duit ni biasanya it's good for you to give to a charity and ideally to an organization because the principle is like this. They say an organization has big funds, an institution, an orphanage, a mosque, a madrasa, and your interest money ni is probably a small amount compared to the total funds that they have. And because it is for community use, you are not using that so-called impure money for the benefit of a particular individual. Macam you belanja I makan, belanja I pergi travel, itu semua no lah, that's a no. You should use it for the benefit of the community, untuk benefit masyarakat, for the greater good lah. So that's one way that you can do it. You can do sedekah, you can do of course your zakat, maybe you bayar lebih sikit. These are some things that you can definitely do.
So just to summarize, opportunity, investment, generating wealth, there's also ways to actually, give back to society in a way lah, to so-called cleanse the whatever the impurities that you have so-called, garnered along the way in your wealth creation lah. So I think it is something that I want to have, I think to me, our community conscious have to be clear, especially those have the resources, not to be, I mean, to be honest, Hilya was once very reluctant. Correct, Hilya? Correct me if I'm wrong. I took her 2 years to convince her to upgrade.
I had a plan.
Huh?
I had a plan at that time.
She said, "Bang, ingat dia bang." So that's the. Yeah. But really, I think important because end of the day, you see, her children are also very well taken care of. They are very happy. They're doing well in school. I think these are things that it's just me. It's probably not a big contributing factor, but it does contribute in terms of the conducive environment. This is how I look at it lah. And the affluent in our community needs to be moved because of the fact that it is a cycle. Because from real estate perspective, I've seen too many. So too many that, home, the property is always the catalyst for the good and the bad, to be honest. I think this is something that, my job is very unenviable lah, not like Star, Asatiza, different. But at the end of the day, this is something that, this is our small contribution to the community lah, so that, we if I can help one person, I'm much more happy lah. In that sense, it's a job satisfaction, right? So okay, I think very good. We really hit 1 hour, which is very good. I'm very grateful for Ustaz for gracing this live show.
Thank you very much.
Hopefully tak serik. Maybe you want you know say a word to Ustaz Irwan Hadi because he never respond to me. Yeah.
Huh? You invited him.
No, I want to invite him so that talk about Faraid and all that in depth a bit lah. You sound kat dia sikit boleh tak? Because I think he don't want to talk to me. Now I make it public,
He was studying. Dia tengah ambil exams.
Oh, tengah ambil. No, after exam also no problem. More than happy. We do this once a month only. But anyway, maybe any words from you, Ustaz, before we tutup majlis? Tutup majlis.
I think for sure property is a topic that should not be taboo. It should not be something that we shy away from just because it seems intimidating. It's a big thing. I think the fact that it's such a big thing in our lives, we need to talk about it even more. I think into tonight's discussion, I noticed that the first time it's very important for you to learn about it is just before you make your first purchase. That's a very important period in your life. The second time you need to consult someone on this matter is when you're about to sell the first time, you're about to upgrade or downgrade, whatever it is. I think that's the second time. And I think somewhere later or maybe slightly before that is for retirement purposes. I think you need to really look into what your options are before you retire, because nobody wants to retire late, too late in their lives. Nobody wants to work because they have to. They'd rather work because they want to for fun when they are about 60 and above.
Yep.
And nobody wants to be 60 and still paying off their loans. I think that's really a very sad situation to be in.
Yeah.
And I think the way to tackle all of this is actually education. And I think you guys are doing a good job, noble job, inshallah. Hopefully this will spread to more people, inshallah.
Inshallah. Maybe just want to show you this comment by one of the viewers. Are you able to see?
Tak boleh.
Tak boleh. You can see. He say, you cannot see, guys? Cannot?
Can see.
Yeah.
Can you see the question?
No, as in my jawapan
I can
is tak
see.
boleh. My jawapan.
Tak boleh. Oh, jawapan tak boleh. Oh, okay. Sorry. Sorry. Jawapannya tak boleh.
Oh.
Cik Malik. So, jawapan Ustaz tak boleh. Okay. Thank you. Oh, that's good. At least. Okay, good. Malina, last words from you. Anything you want to say? I know you say you
as
right.
with all major decisions in life, there will be, we will need to put in the effort to plan, and we will also need to reach out for the right advice as well. So to all my peers lah, don't be malu-malu, come and reach out to my brother if you need any advice on property.
Advertisement nampak. Itu.
Yeah, Hilya, please jual the koyok.
I suppose relating to my own experience, it's more of it's okay to not follow your plans sometimes, because when the opportunity arises and the circumstances allow it, and then kita berdoa dan tawakal that everything goes well, insyaAllah,
Kita hanya merancang kan, Tuhan menentukan, so that's important.
Betul. Yeah. So yeah.
As a closure, I thank all of you for taking time to be part of this show. Thank you to all the audience who have stayed throughout. Inshallah, we have more sessions like this, which we want to ensure that we can share with the community our views and all that. So okay, there's some question which I think never mind. But yeah, so like I said, thank you very much, Ustaz. One more time, thank you so much. Hopefully tak serik. I think next round probably we talk about other things. Okay, so I think with that, thank you very much. I will end the broadcast now. And selamat malam ya. Assalamualaikum to all. Salam. Bye.
Bye.